So it's time to put in the second floor plywood subfloor, and then put in the rim joist or the bond the same way that I did on the first floor. So I know that the plywood goes out to the wall is composed from the outside. We have siding, rigid insulation, plywood sheathing, 2x6 studs, and gypsum board. So my plywood is going to go all the way to the face of the plywood sheathing, but the inside face of it. So I know everywhere that's going to be based on my architectural plan. It will not go over the stairs, obviously. We need to be able to get up and down. And out here I have a terrace, so it won't go out there either. So let's just tell Revit, architecture, floor. What kind of floor? I have the properties and the project browser on another screen, but I just selected the plywood, 3/4 inch plywood is my floor. And now I'm going to draw the lines. I want to go from the end point of this, and I'm having trouble selecting it, so I'll just click here, and that'll get me, I believe, where I want it to be. Looks good. And then I click endpoint here, maybe. Nope, I missed it. That's all right. I'll come back and align it later. So I need to come over and then down. Oh, since I have to come back and align it again, I'll just do it to here. And then I want to tab until I get the right line. Now I have a line to there. This I want to be aligned to there. This guy should be aligned to here. And this plywood might come down to there. I'm not sure. Now this is a little architectural feature. Just a slight little balcony out there. So I'll just put my, now this might not be correct, but I'll take a look at my sections and figure out exactly where I want it to be. Okay, and then I'm going to come down. I can't see the edge of the, it should be the inside edge of the gypsum board in that case, and then that comes to the inside edge. So we got to clean some things up, not a big deal. I'll say grab this line if I can. Now, I think, I don't know what that dash line is right there. So I'm looking for this line. Let's see if I can grab it. Yep, I did. Okay. So I align. No, I picked the line there. All right. So let's do this. It's starting to look good. And then let's pick a line here too, just to see the different ways to do it. All right. So I got that. Now I know I have to go back and clean that up now. So trim extend, which I still call fillet from AutoCAD days, and come around. I can see that that's not a connected lines. This double lines are telling me the span direction. Now that doesn't matter for plywood. There is no span direction for plywood. Coming down, that looks good. This I said I was going to worry about in a little bit. So I won't worry about it now because I don't exactly know. Now, this line is in the right location because I'm using the inside face of the gypsum board. So I can align to that with this other one, which I couldn't tell exactly where it belonged. So there we go. This guy, maybe it's close. Don't know. Anyway, yeah, it looks good. I think it looks good. I'll come in and take a look at that in a second. So I'll grab my sections. As I said before, when I'm laying out work, I use two sections. I change the color red so they're easy to see. And I have one that goes front to back, and wherever I want to see, I'll move it. And I have one that goes side to side, and whatever I want to see, I'll move it rather than have all these sections in there. I find that confusing. Once I'm done, then I'll put my sections in. And so I want to go to this section first, and then I'm going to want to look at it side to side. So I'll take this section, and I can see that this section is pointing in that direction. This one's pointing in that direction. the depth of field is this dashed line. It goes all the way back to there. It doesn't need to go that far. It might confuse me. So I won't be able to see anything farther with this section than where it cuts through. And that dashed line will be the extent of what I can see in the background. If I click on this guy, my depth of field is to there, and I won't be able to see anything farther beyond this dashed line in this direction because of the direction that the section's cutting. Okay, so let's go to the easier one of the two. It's easier because there's only going to be one modification, but in this direction there'll be two. Go to view. And how is that plywood? The plywood should go right up to the gypsum board, and it's not. So the way for me to be sure where that gypsum board is I'll just write in, I'll put a reference plane in here. So when I go back and modify my floor, and I could pick it right here, as a matter of fact. Sometimes it's easier to pick the floor in the section and then say you want to edit it. And I can also see that it's not in the right location. For some reason, my offset in my properties is set to -8 inches, and I want it to be 0. So there we go. Now my floor is where it should be, but it needs to come out all the way to this line. So I need to move my reference plane to that line. And then if I go to the second floor, I'll be able to see that reference plane, and there it is. So I should have really selected the floor and said, edit the boundary. And I'm in my second floor arch, which is second floor architectural. So I'll select that so I don't open up another window. So it's just going to open up that guy, and I'll say align to here. And then I'll say, okay. If we go back to that section now, we can see that my plywood goes right up to the face. But should it? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it should go a little farther. And I'll bring the gypsum board all the way up to here. And then my finished floor will come across and gap over there on top of that just a little bit. Okay. And I can see that this is a little sloppy here. So if I click on this guy, maybe I can, no, it's not letting me drag him back. Ooh, that's a mess too. All right, well, one thing at a time. Let's deal with the floor. What's this line? That's a wall in the background. That wall should go up to the plywood, and it doesn't. That's my gypsum board in the background there. I'll be able to fix that when I go to this section, but let's do this first. There's my floor. Edit the boundary. I don't need to, no, cancel that. I'll just go to the section. So I'll right click, go to view. Now I have that section, which is cutting through. Here's my floor. I'll edit that in a moment. But I said we're going to bring the gypsum board up. So I'll bring my gypsum board up to here. And I can see that I have a little space there. It's architecture, reference plane. I'll draw a reference plane right here. You can see I like to use reference planes, and I need to name that. So I'm going to call it GGHH, just so that I know that. I won't be using it ever again after this. And then let's zoom in over here on this guy. Here's my gypsum board, and I said I wanted it to go all the way up to there. Okay. This, I wish I could just grab it, but I can't. So that's not a clean corner there. I'll have to fix that. But like we said, one thing at a time. Okay, architecture, reference plane. I want that reference plane to come to here. And now we'll call it GGHH. It's just so that I can tell what the names are when I go to my plan view. So I'll be able to edit the boundary. Revit says you can't edit the boundary in a section. So what view do you want to see? Well, I have the second floor arch already open. So let's not open another window. Let's just go to that one. And here's my reference plans, I believe. I will extend to that. Now, yes, I could lock it, but I found that that never really does anything for me as far as time savings. And what that means is if I move the wall that it's locked to, then the plywood floor will go with it as well. But that doesn't always. Okay, so let's see. We'll say okay. This is GGHHII, and this one is GGHH. So look at that. I didn't get to it for whatever reason. So I still have it selected. I can say edit boundary. And I want to, well, that's interesting because I did get to that, but yet it's not showing. I guess because, yeah, I think maybe that's because of the gypsum board. So going up above, let's go to that view again. And it looks good on this side, and it looks good on that side. These are the things that don't look good. Anyway, what this is we're talking about, you can see now with three-dimensional view, this is really a great feature of Revit, because sometimes what I think I've done isn't necessarily what I have done, but when I look in 3D, then I can say, yeah, okay, what I told Revit to do, it's always going to do. If there's a mistake, it's not that Revit made a mistake, it's that I told it to do something that different than what I was expecting it to do. Anyway, so now this looks good. Everything looks good to me. Let's go put in our 2x12 bond around here. Might be 2x10. So let's, before we go any farther, what is my, I don't have my levels here, so I can't really tell. Where could I tell? Well, I guess right here would tell me what my depth is here to there, 9 1/4. Well, I'm glad I checked. 9 1/4 is 2x10s, not 2x12. Okay. So I'm going to just double check one other section just to make sure before I put my bonds in there. No, that's really basically the same thing. So we'll measure it. This is the top of the plywood to the bottom of the, it's 9 1/4, to the top of the bottom of the plywood to the top of the gypsum board below is 9 1/4. So I'm going to say, I think I'm pretty safe there. So over to the structure tab, we're going to put in a beam. I'm selecting in the properties 2x10, and then I'm going to look at my X and my Z and Y coordinates. My Z offset value is 3/4, and my Z offset quarter is -3/4, and my Y offset is 3/4. And I want my level that we're talking about to be the second floor. Make sure I'm telling it to go to the right level, second floor. And let's pick one and see what happens. Looks good from a distance. Up close, looks good too. So it's the face is lining up right there, and the top and the bottom of the plywood is exactly the top of my framing. Okay. So we'll spin this around a little bit. And I'm liking very much what I'm seeing here. And assuming that I drew the plywood in the correct location, then my bond is in the correct location as well. And that's looking really good. Let's spin it around. And putting the bond in first is important because my structural system will frame to the inside face. Well, this one might be a little tricky. That's maybe too small of a little offset, but let's see what happens. Looks like I figured it out. All right, I think this is the last one. Spin it around. Now I have my bond in for the second floor. So the next thing I'll do is put in my structure, but I won't do that in this video. I'll do it in another one.